Welcome to another product feature episode by TST Industries. I am your host, Stephen Fox, and today I'm going to be covering our total crash protection pack offerings for the 2013 and up Honda CBR600RR. All right, so before I dive into the details, I'm first going to explain why you should be interested in these protection packs. There are three main things. Number one, these are high quality components manufactured by womet-tech, and they have been proven effective by professional racers and street riders alike. Number two, we've specifically put together these packs to provide good coverage of your ride from front to rear, which means it takes out a lot of the guesswork of what you should be buying to provide adequate coverage for your ride. And then number three, by purchasing all of these at the same time through these protection pack ads, you'll be saving yourself 10% over MSRP. Now, at the time of this filming, we have two different levels of protection packs available for this ride. They are very similar with the exception of your swing arm protection. So what does this mean? Both level 1 and 2 are going to be coming with fork sliders, frame sliders, and bar ends. And then on your level 1 solution, you'll be going with swing arm spool sliders. And then on the level 2 solution, you upgrade to axle block sliders. We'll be explaining that in more detail over at the bike, but just understand that those are the main differences between the two levels at the time of this filming. Now, if you go on our website, you'll notice that these product listings are advertised for 2007 through the current model year of the CBR600RR. That's because these components are actually very similar all the way through the gamut, but this video will be specifically covering how they apply to the 2013 and up model generation of this bike. All right, enough of me talking at the table. Let's go over to the bike and check out each component in detail. All right, let's go from front to rear on the bike and talk about each component. Item number one are our fork sliders. These are really easy to install, and they provide good protection of your fork bottoms, brake calipers, and brake rotors. Moving on up to our bar ends. These are an important item of the pack because handlebars are typically a main contact point with the ground whenever you do go down. Now, bar ends are offered in several different colors so that you can match the scheme of your bike. They're again very easy to install. Delrin slider material on the end of them, definitely a good item to have. Now let's go on to the main component of a crash protection pack, and that is your frame slider. Immediately you will notice that this is a cut style frame slider. That means you have to put a very small hole in your belly fairing on your CBR. That may seem like a daunting thing, but there's a couple of things to point out here. Number one, we provide you with a really nice cutting template, which means you remove your belly fairing, match up the geometry on our template with the fairing itself, and then we tell you exactly where to cut your hole so that you can get it in the perfect location every time. That makes installation a breeze. Number two, if you haven't already seen our tech tip episode where we cover cut versus no cut frame sliders, I highly recommend you go check that out. We cover the two different mounting styles and why, for us, this is the way to go. We also have some really good crash coverage of several different bikes going down with this style of frame slider so that you can see real world examples of how they held up. The frame slider puck color is black, and again, we offer several different colors of caps so that you can match the overall scheme of your bike. Continuing on, I'm going to need to talk about this engine cover because without doubt, you've noticed it installed here on the bike. Now, this item is not included in crash protection packs. It does require a pretty extensive cut in the body fairing. That's why we don't include it by default. However, this is another good item to have. It protects the right side of your engine. And with that simple cut into your body fairing, you can get even more coverage of this main area of your motorcycle. Continuing on to the rear. This is where we have the two different options depending on your level 1 or level 2 protection solution. I will first begin with level 2 because that's actually what we have installed on the bike here. This is the higher end protection solution, and that's because it uses axle block sliders. These are really nicely machined components. They actually replace the chain tensioning blocks or axle moving blocks on your swing arm. And as you can see here, they deploy the Delrin slider onto that nicely machined component. This is extremely rigid, very unlikely that it would break in the event of a crash. and that's why this is our upgraded solution. Obviously, whenever you go with this, you can then choose to run regular swing arm spools so that you can put your bike up on a rear stand really easily. Now, let me jump back to our level 1 solution, and that is where axle box sliders are not included, and instead of going with a regular aluminum swing arm spool, you would go with a Delrin swing arm spool slider. You'll notice the spool slider is slightly larger than a regular spool, and it also sticks further out from the swing arm. And by doing those things, it provides a little better protection than what a regular spool would provide you. But again, it's not as good as what an axle block slider can give you. You can continue to put your bike up on a rear stand using the spool slider so you don't lose any functionality there. And the last thing I will mention is that these are currently offered in black, whereas the aluminum regular spools are offered in several different colors. In my opinion, the level 2 solution with the axle block slider is slightly more expensive, but still the way that I would go. I like the overall setup of how this comes out. These nice machine components, I think they're really strong, and I like the ability to run a certain spool of color that I like, and this lower profile to me just looks better overall. That'll conclude our discussion on the 2 different protection packs we offer for the 13 and up 600RR. If you have any questions or comments at this point, feel free to leave us a comment on the YouTube page. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And at this point, I urge you to head on over to tstindustries.com where you can learn more about these products and get them ordered online. This has been Steven with TST Industries. Catch you next time.